Hello everybody and welcome to another film review, another Tuesday film review. This time we're going to go through the game of the University of Georgia's Jordan Davis, and I don't think people are quite ready for just how high I am on him. I think that he's one of the best players in this draft class, and on top of that I think he's one of the best defensive tackle prospects that's come out in the last 10 years or so. I think this guy is Vita Vea, but maybe even better. I think that this dude could be Vince Wilfork. That's how good he is at run defense. And people are focusing a little bit too much on what he can't do and not focusing enough on what he can do and how he's generationally good in his specific role. And he's the type of guy that the box score is not going to really account for. The things he does doesn't show up anywhere. Like Vince Wilfork, for example, his career high in sacks was like 3.5. Not much. Not much production from these true nose tackle type of dudes, but that's why I'm so excited to do a film review on him, because that's the only way you can really get the essence of his game and the only way that he can get the respect that he truly deserves. So let's get right into it. I've been super excited to do this review for like a year now. Obviously, I watched the Georgia defense a lot last year. There was a lot of reasons to, with all the guys coming out of Florida's offense and all the guys coming out of Alabama's offense, and, you know, Azeez Ojulari, the defensive prospect, and Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell. There are just a lot of reasons to watch the Georgia defense last year, and there always is. There always is. And Jordan Davis was always a guy who obviously stood out. So I loved him then, and I still love him now. I'm going to start with some 2020 film. The center here is Landon Dickerson. 6'6", 325 pounds, massive dude. Second round pick by the Eagles, really early in the second round. Definitely would have gone in the first round if it wasn't for some massive injury concerns. And he started 13 games for one of the best run blocking units in football last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's the matchup he's got here. And this is NFL talent, right? And he's in a tilted nose position, and the reason why he's kind of tilted like that is he can just fire right in to the center, and also he gets in the way of the guard, right, because his leg's out there. So it's a nice position to be in, and Dickerson gets right into him, and he doesn't move 1 inch. He sets that anchor. He gets underneath the pad level of Dickerson and just doesn't move. In fact, he just treats Dickerson like a blocking sled, extending his arms, knocking him backwards into the hole, and then being able to make the tackle in the backfield on Najee Harris. Again, NFL talent here. He's going to be doing this on Sundays. This translates, and it's just complete dominance at the point of attack by Jordan Davis here, and really, really by everybody on the Georgia front. Here's another example on a similar counter play. This time the back block is going to come from the guard, though, and he instantly recognizes that. As soon as his ball is snapped, he gets his eyes to where the block is coming from. And this is another really big dude coming at him with like even more of a running start this time. And he recognizes it and plants his feet before the contact right there. The guard has not made contact yet. Once this big guy runs into him, let's see if that moves his feet even 1 single inch. Let's see if this block affects Jordan Davis one little bit. Nope. No, it doesn't. His feet don't move at all. He stays exactly where he was. And in fact, like, this is not his play to make, because, you know, counter's obviously going to flow outside there, and that it's just not his gap. He's not responsible for it. But if for any reason this play was coming this way, there'd be no issue for him. He just doesn't get moved by one-on-ones. He just does not get moved by one-on-ones. I think that this play does a good job demonstrating his value, because how many guys does Georgia have in their front here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6. And how many gaps are there for Najee Harris to run through? Well, he can bounce it around the outside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 gaps, 6 dudes in the front. So you're going to have to do something about that. And Jordan Davis can take up 2 gaps, right? As soon as this play starts, they're running duo, and, you know, with the running back and single back, you may think that he's going to come downhill. So the first place he steps is taking control of his blocker, eating this little combo block here and not really moving because of it, and closes up that A gap by basically pushing his dude into it. And then when Najee bounces more towards the outside, he sees that happening and then just throws his guy back into the B gap. And then Najee can't run through either of them and has to bounce this outside where they have a guy waiting for him. And even though Jordan Davis is a really huge dude, obviously, I think he does as good a job as he can getting low. And I get that it helps here because he's going up against Landon Dickerson, like I said, who's also 6'5" and just massive. But Once he fires off the ball, you see him getting under the pads, extending upwards with good leverage, and he's able to just stonewall NFL talent, like I said, Landon Dickerson, at the point of attack here and push him into the backfield, and Najee has to bounce this outside again. And you watch it from this angle, he can make plays in two gaps here, right? His head is like on the ear hole of Dickerson, peering into the backfield. His momentum is going this way, and he's got that A gap under control. But then once Najee breaks this outside, because his arms are so extended and Landon Dickerson can't get into his frame at all, he's able to just easily shift his weight that way and close up this gap as well. So once again, two gaps pretty much accounted for by Jordan Davis here. So that's him holding up against NFL talent, and that's him beating NFL talent in that Bama game. But where the really fun tape comes is against teams that maybe don't have that kind of pedigree in the interior of their offensive line, like this Kentucky team. Still a solid SEC team, but maybe not quite as good, and he can just dominate. Here he is again in a tilted nose type of front end. He's responsible for a lot of space here because this four-tech is looping around the outside, and no one really stunts in. So Jordan Davis ends up being responsible for this huge hole. And I feel like a lot of defensive tackles don't have the athleticism to make a play if the running back were to choose to really press that guard and try to make it through there. That gets pretty dicey, and that's probably just an arm tackle for a defensive tackle, or most of them who don't have the athleticism that Jordan Davis has. But for this running back, once Jordan Davis is in this position, you're just not trying anything. You're not trying anything. And so he works back, which I get. And this center has all the leverage in the world to block him and prevent him from going back that way. But Jordan Davis, it doesn't matter. Just throws him aside like it's nothing, works back through him like it's nothing, and still makes the play on the other side. So at this point, I mean, he's responsible for all of this space. That's what Jordan Davis takes away when he's blocked one-on-one. I've seen some scouting reports say he's not very explosive. He gets off the ball slow. I don't really agree with this. Here he is again against Kentucky, and he's just going to instantly teleport into this frontside A gap here. Like, as soon as the ball is snapped, he takes one step and he's in there. Bats the hands away from the center. This guard doesn't have enough time to reach him at all, and he's in the backfield being disruptive and blows this play up. Here he is at one tech right there, and this gap opens, and he gets upfield in a hurry. I would say he gets too far upfield. I mean, he's kind of out of the play here and opens up maybe a space. If this running back wanted to cut in between this could be bad news. But, as far as get-off goes, he had a faster 10-yard split than J.J. Watt, for God's sakes. He gets off the ball plenty fast. He's plenty light on his feet. And I've talked about his ability to attack two gaps at once, and when you're two-gapping, you need a lot of power, strength. They say when you're two-gapping, you attack a player. When you're only responsible for one gap, you attack the empty space. You attack the gap itself, and he's got the speed to do that. Like right here, they're going to run split zone. This guy's going to work across the formation. Everybody takes a step in one direction, and when you do that, the defensive tackle, that's called a slip block, you want to follow them and occupy the empty space that the guy in front of you just left before the other guy can come around and reach you. And he's got the first step in the explosiveness to do that, like you see here, right? 51 slips him, and then 55 is trying to reach around and block him, but he can't get there because Jordan Davis's first step is too fast. And then even at 345 pounds or whatever he is, he's able to track this guy down and wrap him up in the backfield. So those plays just go to show that he is the total package as a run defender. Whatever you need him to do, he can do it. Now, I don't think many people who are low on Jordan Davis or are Jordan Davis doubters dispute this. I think everybody understands that he's kind of a generational run defending prospect. What people doubt is the value of that. If he can pass rush at all, if he offers anything as a pass rusher, or, the snap count thing, the conditioning thing. Here's what I would say. For the value. Personally, I think that nose tackle is an extremely valuable position. You look at DJ Reader and the Bengals in the Super Bowl this year, and what he offered in that Titans game, shutting down Derrick Henry, what he offered the entire year, and what that front seven was able to do to the Rams in the Super Bowl, limiting them to basically zero successful running plays, maybe one or two at the very, very end. I think nose tackle is incredibly valuable. You look at the Chargers. The Chargers had the number 2 offense in the league in points scored per drive and yards per drive, but they couldn't stop the run. They didn't have guys who could two gap like their scheme wanted, and it derailed their entire season. They couldn't do anything about it. They had a generational quarterback prospect, a great offense. They had a great safety, a great edge rusher, and Joey Bosa. Didn't matter. Still one of the worst defenses in football. As for the whole pass rush aspect of his game, I'm not going to sit here and say he's very good at it. He's not very good at it. Most pass rushing snaps look like this for him, right? Not a lot of drive in his legs, not very active hands, more content to just kind of occupy this guy and maybe contain and try to get a hand in a throwing lane. Not someone who's ever going to get many sacks in a season, but I think that's okay for a big nose tackle. Vince Wilfork's career high in sacks was 3.5. Vita Vea's career high is 4. Big John Henderson, his career high was 6.5. I don't even know if Jordan Davis is ever going to reach that, but he doesn't really have to, because what he offers in terms of, okay, we can have a light box now and we can put more guys into coverage, so that's going to create more coverage sacks for the other guys. Or we can send him on a stunt and someone else is going to loop around him and get a sack that way. So he's going to make his impact felt in the pass rush, just it's not going to be he himself doing it, if that makes sense. But of course, the biggest question is the whole snap count thing, and that's the biggest difference between him and someone like Vince Wilfork, because Vince Wilfork played basically every single snap he could for the New England Patriots. He played a ridiculous amount of snaps, and Jordan Davis didn't play that many for Georgia. I think it was maybe even less than 50%. So, can he be a 3-down player? Well, I have faith in him. I have faith in his work ethic. Watch any interview with the guy, and it's clear that he has 0 red flags, 0 character concerns. He's completely bought in to working and getting better all the time, and I think you see that with the combine, that he showed up relatively light, maybe lighter than you would expect from him, ran a fantastic 40 time. You watch him at Georgia's pro days, already moving better than you've seen him before, already starting to kind of reinvent himself. So I have faith in the work ethic, and I have faith in the football character that he can get to where he needs to be. Second of all, I actually asked Nakobe Dean about this. I had the opportunity to interview him, and I was curious. So I was like, what do you think about Jordan Davis not playing all that many snaps? And he's like, well, first of all, you got to understand that we were blowing a lot of teams out because we're Georgia and other teams aren't Georgia. So we might be out at halftime, and there might be, nothing to do with conditioning or anything. It's just, there's no point in playing. You might get hurt. Third of all, it's just a deep roster at Georgia on that defensive line, right? It's just deep, and there's a lot of guys who deserve playing time there, and if anyone is just a little bit tired, you might as well put in another dude. So there's lots of reasons for Georgia players to maybe not play as much as you would like to see them, and I do think conditioning is a part of that. Look at the Alabama game. He pretty much said after the game, like, my conditioning was not quite where it needed to be. They played fast, they played a lot of snaps, and he wasn't super effective in that SEC championship game. But then if you look at the national championship game, he played a lot more. He played better. Everybody played better, and that is, he reworked his body, he reworked his conditioning, and was able to do that. And I think he'll be able to do that in the NFL. Maybe not to the extent that Vince Wilfork did, but to the extent that it doesn't really show up to me as this like massive negative. So that's all I've got on Jordan Davis. Like I said, I think like just a generational run defending prospect. If the Chargers had him last year, they'd make the playoffs and probably even make a run. I think like he's just a run defense by himself, and that's about as valuable as any single player is in this entire draft class. So I don't really think he probably shouldn't go number 1 overall maybe, but top 10, I'm fine with it. Like I said, 8 to the Falcons. If you want to pair him alongside Grady Jarrett, I'm all for it. That 8 to 24 range, perfect spot for him. Definitely someone I would have a high first-round grade on. So thank you all for watching. I hope this clears things up about his game and where I think it is and why I don't think his issues are maybe as big as some people think they are. So again, thank you so much for watching. I will be back next week with another film review on somebody, and I hope you watch then. Be sure to like and subscribe, and see ya.